Hello again, welcome to the Ref Show. A really big subject for the panel to discuss this week. What can happen, the dangers that can accrue when an FA's disciplinary system appears to fail, which I think is going to be the view of our panel this week. Keith Hackett and Mark Halsey. Keith, I think first of all, were either overdressed or underdressed. The very athletic Mr. Halsey is here, ready for action. And we have got action. Now, Andy Carroll scored a great hat-trick for West Ham in a terrific 3-3 draw with Arsenal at the weekend. You're going to argue he shouldn't have been on the field to get that.
I don't have to argue, it's a fact. I mean, if we look at the basic law, that first challenge in the opening minutes, for which he got a yellow card, I'd like Craig Pawson to tell me why he gave a yellow card, because the law says that where you make a challenge that is reckless, and it's reckless because he's off the ground, and it's got force because he's chasing the player who's going away, had no chance of playing the ball, and rakes him down the back of an Achilles, so he's endangered the safety of an opponent. That's a red.
You agree?
Well, I absolutely. I mean, I spoke to Keith over the weekend. He hadn't seen the challenge, and I said to him, Keith, in my opinion, this is a red card. And I can understand why Craig hasn't sent him off, because of what happened to Mark Clattenburg the previous week. Now, no referee likes a red card being overturned, especially when you haven't made a serious and obvious error like it's laid down in their appeals process, that to overturn a red card, he's got to have made a serious and obvious error. I can understand why referees now err on the side of caution.
So the confidence of referees has been undermined, you feel, by the FA appeals panel. Kuate of West Ham had his card rescinded.
Well, now, all I can say is that, for me, the FA are consistent at being inconsistent.
Because this followed the Barry Bannon case. All right, it was only in the Championship, but Sheffield Wednesday appeal for a very similar challenge, didn't they? It was a yellow card.
Oh, absolutely. And for me, the FA are ignoring the laws of the game, and Keith's quite right. You know, we're there to protect the players. At the moment, it seems like it's a free-for-all.
Barry Bannon got a straight red. Yeah. So are you saying that either both of these two were straight red and should have been upheld, or both of them should have been rescinded? Is that where you're going?
Both should have been upheld. So both should have been. They shouldn't have been rescinded. None of them should have been rescinded. Well, the Bannon one wasn't, and the Kuate one shouldn't have been rescinded either. Because
I think the problem here is actually getting down to the basics. One, it's understanding the law. The law is specific. Referees have to apply the law. The law is there to protect the players. This particular law on excessive force, reckless, endangering the safety of an opponent. It's a quite specific, well-written law, doesn't need any amendments, it's clear. Referees operate to that law, they've been coached and trained. So here's a top referee applying the law correctly, and probably both of them have applied the law correctly, and then you come to an appeals process. Now, for the appeal to operate, it has to be a serious and obvious error, or it's mistaken identity. That's FIFA that laid that down, not the FA. So now the FA accept, or seem to say, right, okay, we'll listen to the appeal. Now you've got the big problem, because you've got three guys. Look, I'm not questioning their integrity. They've played the game, right?
Okay, so the composition of the panel is the problem, you're saying. Is that the reason for the inconsistency?
I think, this is not a new issue. For me, this was even in my time, where at that particular stage, I went in one day absolutely gutted by the fact that the referee had got it right on Dogzo, and they threw it out. And I'm saying, well, tell me where. Oh, well, it's down to the panel. And I'm going, well, the panel don't know the laws of the game. Yeah. Look, Bill Shankly has this great saying, you referees, right, you know the laws, you don't know the game. Players, generally, know the game, don't know the laws. And so I'm having a hit back and saying, the panel should be three people, ex-player, ex-manager, ex-referee, consistent. Employ them. Employ them
in the case of
and
Kuate
train them.
And this appeal being upheld, that West Ham succeeded in the appeal, it was at three ex-players, wasn't it?
Yeah, I understand it was. I understand Dennis Smith being one who's a match delegate who sided with the referee, and I understand Stuart Ripley went against the referee, and I think there was another ex-player that remained unnamed. But I think Keith's absolutely spot on. about the panel, and for me, there's about 15 or 20 different people that sit on these panels. It's got to be the same 3 people for consistency throughout the season. So as Keith said, an ex-referee, an ex-player, and an ex-manager. I mean, let's look at the Carroll challenge. You know, as Keith said, did Carroll have any chance of playing that ball? No, because he was behind the player, and he was a little bit miffed with Conchelsi because I think he just caught him with his arm. Whether it was accidental, there was no need to do what he'd done. So he's the red mist has fallen. He's behind him. He's launched himself into him. No chance of playing the ball. Excessive force, endangering the player's safety because where he's caught him. And it had to be a red card. And as I said earlier, I can understand why Craig has not sent him off because there's no backing coming from the FA.
Yeah, but the next stage of that particular game, let's say Craig's issued the yellow, which he did. Later on in the game, Andy Carroll, in the usual way, illegally uses his arm and elbow, and the elbow is a massive weapon, and like he ignores it. He's seen it, and he's suddenly gone, "Oh, I'm backing off here." Yeah. And so
he's not looking at the player.
No, he doesn't have to. He knows where the player is. It's this nonsense explanation. Well, look at the player and then do it.
What about this? You need the arms for lift-off.
Well, I'll tell you, you do.
But you don't do that.
You do. Yeah. But let me tell you, elevation is achieved when the actual elbow is below the shoulder height. That's when you're going up. Yeah. When it's above there, it's a weapon. Yeah. And therefore, this is what referees are coached. This is how they're coached. They're there to recognise it. But I think that referees at the moment, there's confusion. Yeah. And not with the big 3. You know, let's be clear here. Clattenburg, Dean, and Atkinson are performing really well. And my congratulations to them because they're holding it together. Mm. But I mean, if I was Mark Clattenburg last week, right, I'd throw my whistle on the floor or in the sea and I'd go, I'm going for a walk because he's got it right. And then he's got public criticism for something he's done right. This cannot be right for refereeing. And where's the PGMOL? I don't see anybody coming out saying anything. The old system at the moment...
Can they come out and condemn the FA? Of course they can. The panel system?
Well, of course they can come out and question it. They can say, look, I'm not happy with this overturn. Because, look, the guy who's running the PGMOL has a responsibility for the entire structure of refereeing in this country. What happens at the top, which is what Patrick Barclay said in his terrific column about respect, what happens at the top cascades down. So in this situation, they could have come out and said, look, we're concerned about this particular decision, or, let me say the other thing, I'd have been on the phone to Clattenburg. Nobody's spoken to him, as I understand. So I worry about it because the balance is gone, and because the game itself and referees are being managed and taught and coached by players. Players are at the game as match delegates, telling the referee how well he's performed or indifferently, with no experience of refereeing, little knowledge about the laws of the game, even though they played the game. And then they're rewarding a mark that gives them a position in the merit table that ultimately determines a bonus or whether he gets a bigger game or whatever. And now they're sitting on this disciplinary panel. It's a bit out of kilter here.
Yeah. But just coming back to the Coyote Challenge, the PGMOL evaluation system, so I understand, backed Mark Clattenburg and said it was a definite sending off.
Well, there you are.
So there we are.
If you know the law and you apply the law, Mark, we don't have to argue the case.
But also,
it's the law.
Also, I would expect that UEFA and FIFA are very unhappy with the FA with the rescinding of that
Okay,
that
it's a big issue. We've devoted almost the whole of part 1 to it. We'll look at the selection of a new select group manager by PGMOL, Adam Watts, in the second part. That's also going to raise a little bit of controversy in the comments of the panel. Just before we leave this part and West Ham Arsenal, unusual to criticise Darren Cann. There was a West Ham early goal incorrectly disallowed.
Yeah, I mean, just before we come on to that, there was another red card, Keith, that Craig missed when Gabriel retaliated with Carroll when he kicked out him. That should have been another red card. Right. But going back onto your...
But just before you say that, look, if we're talking about referee development, there's a lot of referees watch this programme, right? The basis of Craig's performances at the moment, right, are a lack of positioning, lack of pace. I've said it all season. This is, look, he's a good referee. He's got great potential. Somebody needs to grip him and get him on a running field and saying, please run.
Last point of this part.
Last point, but just coming on to that, Keith, I think the major issue as well, a lack of confidence. A lack of confidence and a bit of loving, an arm around you, and a coach that they don't have anymore on the select group, going out with him, game in, game out, just to see where he's going wrong. But yes, going on to Darren Cann, he's made a few errors this season. I believe he's put on a little bit more weight. I don't think he's in line as much as good as he used to be. And for someone of Darren Cann's ability, should not have got that wrong.
It was an easy decision.
Easy decision.
Okay, chaps, thanks very much indeed. Do join us for part 2. Plenty more frank views to be exchanged then. See you then.